Welcome to Wellbeing with Manny in conversation with. What we hear and what we listen to throughout our day can shape how we feel. If we feed and nourish our soul with wholesome conversations from everyday people, filled with positive stories that people can relate to, we may feel less alone and even inspired. We're all working through our own stuff, and sometimes you need to hear people's failures, successes, and everyday struggles. Wellbeing with Manny in conversation with is talking to everyday people about how they have journeyed life so far, with hopefully some amazing take-homes and some top tips for you. Thanks for joining us each week for another amazing conversation. It really is all about talking. So think, reach out, talk to somebody. Who will you have a conversation with? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Wellbeing with Manny. So today, I think we've got a really, really special conversation in store. So today we welcome to the channel my gorgeous cousin-in-law, Catherine Moon. I'm very lucky that she's part of our family. So Catherine is a health and mindset coach. So there's going to be some amazing take-homes today, I'm sure. So welcome, Catherine. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you, Manny. Thank you very much for inviting me to be part of your wellness venture.
Amazing. Thank you for being here. So just to introduce yourself, obviously I've said you're a health and mindset coach. What is it that you do?
Yeah, so really, I've kind of not tried to specialize or niche too much, but to put it simply, I really am interested in supporting women. Women really who
what shirt to wear today?
Oh yeah, girl power. Yeah, it just is something that's really important to me. We are unique as females in terms of everything, our biology. We tend to think more about things or overthink things more. So I really was interested in supporting women who might be struggling with health challenges, with mindset challenges, confidence, that they may be in a part of their lives where they're transitioning career, transitioning relationships, and just find themselves stuck really. And I see my role really very much as both a health coach and what you call a life coach, is to support them in all areas really, from a holistic approach.
And it's really, I've always find this really interesting because in our kind of in a lot of mental health talk, it seems as if, it's always women talk so much more and men don't talk that much, which means that, the issues that men tend to have with their mental health comes from the fact that they don't talk. But as women, we do talk. But I feel as if we have so many transition periods in our life, which is why I love the fact that you use the word transition. It feels like there's perhaps a little bit more for us to navigate. And even though we talk so much, we maybe just figure out a bit less, and we need help with that. Do you know what I mean?
I do, absolutely. And I think the way that we live our lives nowadays, we're so much, we're very much detached from each other in comparison to the way we evolved as human beings. And women traditionally would have been together. And you look at traditional cultures, women do congregate together daily, they work together, they are together. So they learn from each other. They're there and they see those transitions. So the transition from being a girl coming into womanhood to becoming a mother, to being a wife or not being a wife, having that career, and then navigating what we all now are hearing so much more about in terms of the perimenopause and the menopause and the very real effect that has for us on a physiological level, on a mental health level. And we just don't have that as much. We don't have as many what I'd call touch points with each other to be able to get into the deep stuff that matters.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's so well put. We'll probably pick up on some of those points, especially the transition in women's lives and the kind of seismic shifts that really. It was interesting. Holly Willoughby's got a new book out, and she said that she felt that this was the point at which she had to write down something, because that kind of script of life of the kind of normality, whatever that means, of growing up, studying, getting married, having children, having that career, and then what? And it's the and then what that she was kind of like, what happens now? What am I to do with my life? And I kind of really love the way that she put that. And for some people who then don't journey through that path, who decide that they're not going to get married, that they don't want children for a million reasons, which is absolutely fine. What happens to them in the society that says you should? I thought that was such a good point.
We are living in very much a patriarchal society, which is now moving into, I feel, a shift where there's going to be more of a balance between that, the very masculine way that has evolved of doing things to a more feminine way, that balance, more feminine way of doing things as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to go back, it'd be lovely to hear your story, if that's okay to ask, about how it is you came to feel as if a kind of big shift in the way that you were living, or maybe your mindset, or how you were looking after yourself, how that came about.
Yeah, so for me, in terms of my journey with my health and my mindset, then I think the real beginnings with my health started for me after having my first child, but you could say even before then, in terms of what I saw in my parents. My mum was a nurse, my dad was a GP, but looking at them, they weren't healthy. They had underlying health conditions, that their lifestyle wasn't healthy. They were working hard. There wasn't very much in terms of getting out and looking after their bodies, and sadly, as a result, my mum suffered from type 2 diabetes, and she died at an early age. And then, I think at that point there was a shift in my mind to say, right, that's not going to be for me. I'm going to do something differently. But really, that didn't evolve until I became a mother, and I saw I experienced it really on a personal level in terms of the impact of my diet, and also the way I was going around talking to myself on a conscious and subconscious level. And, after having my eldest, who's 10 now, nearly 11, I can't believe it, then that was a real struggle. That was a difficult time for me. I had to get back to a certain weight to get back to work. So I used to be in the Royal Air Force. I had to pass the fitness test when I went back to work. So there was that pressure of being physically fitting back into my uniform. That was self-induced. I could have just got a bigger uniform, but there were those pressures there. And then I was really starting to notice, just being new to being being a parent, I was exhausted. The thought at 5 months that I was going to go back to work a month later, I just did not know how I was going to manage. She wasn't sleeping. I was exhausted on my feet. I just literally remember crying. I was just like, I have no idea how I'm going to make that work.
Yeah.
We made it work. Between my husband and I, we made it work, and it happened. But flash forwards 2.5 years after that, and I have my second child, and completely different experience in terms of pregnancy and different birthing experience, which we won't go into birthing experiences here. And I felt much more positive. But then we made a big decision, and the decision was that I wasn't going to go back to work. I was going to retire from the RAF so we could be together as a family. And at that point really was the big switch for me, because at that point my identity shifted massively. Now I was a full-time mum. I didn't have a uniform, I didn't have a position, I didn't have a rank, but of course none of that was really me anyway. That was just a thing I was doing. But that's what I'd become attached to, and that's what I'd become used to, and that had become part of my identity. And that's when I started to struggle. That's when I really started to struggle with my mental health. And just I remember one night sitting there at the table chatting to my husband, and I said, I hate my life right now. I hate my life right now. And it wasn't that I didn't have, I had everything that you could think of that would make life amazing. I'd had a great job. I'd done really well. I'd been promoted. I had 2 gorgeous children, happy and healthy, an amazing husband who I was really lucky was going to be able to support all of us, so I could actually stay at home and concentrate on being a mum and experiencing motherhood and having an amazing experience apparently with it.
Yeah.
But I found myself like, just focusing on all of those, I don't know, I'd come to focus on the struggles instead of seeing the beauty and the amazingness that was in my life. I was just focusing on all the rubbish, all, and I'm going to say it, I hope this is okay, all the shit, all the shit.
That's what it was.
Look how hard this is. I'm crap at that. I can't do that. My children don't listen to me. I can't get myself out of bed in the morning. I'm knackered, etc., etc. I was giving myself a super hard time. Super hard time.
And it resonates so much. I mean, obviously that there'll be lots of people listening who don't have children, but they will be able to relate in some kind of way in their lives where they felt lost, they felt a sense of a lack of identity, or just not being able to focus on anything that was positive because negative chatter takes over so much, and what we feed our brain, it believes and it becomes, and it resonates with me. I'm obviously a mum of 2 girls as well, and I had a really, really similar experience. I did go back to work, but it's only taken me till now to pull back from some of that work to be able to find, the good in work like this, for example, which just it took me such a while to get here, and so it totally and utterly resonates. So in particular, how did you begin? So obviously you feel on the other side, we're all work in progress, of course, none of us are done and ready, but how did you manage to find the strength and any kind of positivity and motivation to kind of start that journey of, I can't live like this anymore? You said those words to Steve. We'll name check Steve because he's a legend. Yeah. How did you, when you said those words, was that the bottom? I can't live like
that. Was the bottom. That was the very bottom. It wasn't gonna get any worse than that. I knew I wanted my life back. I knew that my girls deserved to have a mother. I mean, God damn it, lost my mum at a young age, and I wasn't gonna let that happen to my kids on whatever level, even if it was absent in spirit and mind and being the mum I want to be, or in the physical sense. So I think there's always been that determined, stubborn streak in me. So I reached out for help at that point, and I was really fortunate that I knew the doctor, the lady on our unit who was the GP, and I went and spoke to her about it. And she knew that I, very much like to take a natural approach to stuff, but she was really encouraging in terms of actually, going on some antidepressants. I went and I was fortunate enough to be able to access some support from mental health services. But I have to say, I was told by the consultant psychiatrist that I saw that, be careful about what you read on the internet. Don't stop taking your medication. You'll need to be on it for X amount of time. And by the way, and he didn't say that word, but by the way, your depression, you're always going to be depressed, and it's going to get worse as you get older. And that, he may not have said those words, but at that point I was like, no, thank you. That's not going to be for me.
And obviously I know this story, and I just feel like it needs a bit more of a moment to unpack that. And medical, this is by no means anything against the medical profession. We have the best NHS ever. We know that we have the best health system in the world. We've seen that over the past 18 months, what they have done for us. But for a medical professional to say, this is it, this is you for life, done, that can't sit right. It doesn't sit right,
No, and it's so to anyone else that could have been a really defining moment. That could have been a belief. that they chose to take on about themselves and then lived out, rather than something that you choose to go, no, that is not going to be me, because I know I get to choose. Yeah, so something instinctively inside of me said, no, that is not going to be for me. That is not going to be the life that I choose. And I think I'd already had some experience at that point of meditating. Steve had introduced me to meditation. He was using it at the time. He was finding it really helpful. I was a bit slower to get on board, but you know, it's something that I carry on doing to this day. I will meditate every day. I already knew what I could do from a physical perspective in terms of my physical health, but I needed to go. I knew I was going to go away, and I was going to look at more. I was going to look at the way I was nourishing and feeding my body and the impact that I was having on my brain. I was going to look at what else I could do. I was really fortunate to get access to some CBT therapy as well, and that really started to help me reframe and look at my thoughts and the things that I was thinking and reacting in relation to situations that were occurring. So assumptions that I was making that were becoming thoughts that were of a negative nature. So for him, why did he come out with that? I don't know. I think he was towards the end of his career. He was not a picture of health himself. That's me being slightly judgy. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, you know, I don't know what more to say about that. I think that it's always good to have a healthy curiosity about things and to question the information that you're presented with, but also question it in relation to you, what's right for you. And at that moment, it didn't feel right for me, what he was saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, you know, that was the moment that you took hold of, you know, your mind and your life, and you started to kind of read up and research and see what worked for you. And for people who are maybe a bit worried, skeptical about, you know, the medication route, about the therapy route, what's been what you know, from your experience, isn't everyone's experience, but from your experience, how has that led to, you know, you being able to completely get on top of it and manage it? You know, no one is ever, you know, there's a tiny part of what he said in the whole kind of, you'll never be free of it. And maybe for people who've had depression, experience bouts of depression, maybe it is just a part of them that will stay there, but it can absolutely be managed. And I completely and utterly believe that. I don't know if anybody's ever going to be, you know, free and they'll never have it again. No one's going to say that we can never dip again, but how do you, you know, what's your take on that?
Yeah, so it's quite interesting. I mean, he said to me I'd be on medication long term. I decided not to. So I was on it for 2 years. I think that was important for me because I wanted to be able to not be numbing my feelings, emotions, my thought processes. My take on it is quite interesting. I think from the way I look at it now is that as we've been growing up as kids of our generation, right, we were told some very clear messages by our parents, by our loved ones who are trying to support us from the best of intentions. We learn about emotions, what's good, what's bad, what's okay, what's not okay, whatever you want to call it. So, you know, when we're crying, oh, stop crying, it's okay, what are you crying for? You know, the suppression of those negative emotions, you know, we were taught to suppress negative, undesirable emotions. So like when my mum died, you know, I had this message in my head of, right, we need to be seen to be able to cope, we need to be doing this, right, I'm going to do this and this. There was no allowing the space for the emotions. You know, I've got to be seen to be this picture of okayness, when actually we're human beings, we're having a human experience, and we've got a full range of beautiful, amazing emotions that we want to be connecting to, because they tell us some powerful information about the situations that we're in, about how we're feeling, and it helps us inform ourselves about what we want to do and the decisions we want to make.
Yeah,
it's our guidance system. You know, we need to be connected and tapped in. So that's my take on it now, is that, yeah, I can go through some pretty rubbish days. especially when I'm going through tons of personal learning and growth, and I'm doing new things for the first time, and I'm putting myself out there, and I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen? am I going to get it wrong? Am I going to fluff up? Our brains are amazing. They're supposed to protect us from the big predators that might eat us out there. So they are doing a great job. It's just nowadays we see those risks differently, and we interpret those threats differently. And so we still have that natural system that kicks in to try and keep us safe. And that's what part of the negative chatter is about. The negative chatter is there to keep us safe. Don't do that. Someone might see you. Don't do that. You don't want to do that. And I've seen it myself. I've been out of working traditionally for the past 8 years, and by that I mean I haven't been putting a suit on and going to work in the traditional sense. And all of a sudden, as I'm stepping more and more into doing something more fully, my mind's going, what are you doing? This here's nice and comfortable. You don't need to do this. What are you doing that for? And it might sound like I've got a bit of a split personality, but we're all there having that conversation internally, whether we like to admit it or not. So I feel I've slightly rambled off there.
No, it's that is absolutely perfect.
That's my take on it. That's my take on it. We are meant to be tapping into our emotions. We are meant to be allowing space to feel and embrace those emotions. Obviously how we express those emotions is entirely we need to do that entirely appropriately and in a safe way, but just being able to be in touch with those emotions is important.
And there's a couple of things that just to pick up on. So it's really interesting about the suppression of emotion. So apologies for I can't quite remember who it was, but I was listening and reading something the other day, and it was about the fact that when kids are in an absolute kind of red mist tantrum moment, telling them to calm down is just completely and utterly counterintuitive. It doesn't, it's not going to sink in with them. They have not got that rational kind of thought process to go, oh yeah, actually, if I calm down, I'm going to be all right. Because the reason that they are getting so emotional about something is because they need to release something. They have to let it go. As adults, what do some of us do when we get a bit angry? We channel the energy somewhere. So for for some young people, maybe like late teens, they might be hammering the gym, doing boxing. For me, if I go out for a run or I furiously clean the bathroom, I'll feel a little bit better. What is that outlet for kids? And for me, I kind of practiced it the other night because my youngest was having an absolute meltdown, and there was no way that I could talk to her at that point. There was no way that I could say to her, what's the matter? Calm down. There was no words. It was just, but she wanted and needed to release something. And because she felt safe enough at home to be able to display that, she did it. So she'd been at school all day, behaving well, and something had bubbled up and she needed to get it out. And the fact that she felt safe enough to do it was a good thing. So I let her do it. And I said to her, really calm, and in your mind, you're going, stop it. This is so unhelpful. But I said to her, I'm going to just let all this out. It's really good. Let it out. Whatever it is, just let it out. And I kept kind of almost coaching her through it. After a minute or two, she stopped. And I looked at her and I said, do you want to just breathe with me? She said, yeah. So we just breathed a little bit. And then I asked her, do you want me to talk it through with you, or are you done? And she said, I'm okay. So there will be a point at which I'll potentially, as she gets older, push that, do you want to talk about it? Because there's obviously something. But she was 5 and she wanted to let rip about something. And it was so interesting to compare that moment to a moment 3 weeks ago where I was like, this is ridiculous. We don't behave like this. Why are you behaving like this? Just really unhelpful.
You're overreacting.
And in her mind, she's not overreacting. it's a real response to something she's feeling. So that was just an observation from something he said. But the other, go on, come back.
Yeah, I think it's a really valid point. I think as parents and as mums, that's a real challenge for us, because we have our learned association with those types of situations. Yeah. So if you notice, I don't know if you've ever noticed what's going on inside of you when that is happening. For me, like when you were describing it, I'm like, yeah, I can feel that. I'm getting a bit of clenching in the tummy. So I'm feeling slightly anxious. Like, when's it going to stop? How am I going to fix it? You know, and you, of course, you don't need to fix any of it. You just need to provide that safe space for them. And also, like you said, it's brilliant that she feels so comfortable and so safe that she can express herself in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other little thing was about the negative chatter. So I have a friend who sees negative chatter like a little person on their shoulder. And when they start to get involved, they just flick it off. And they're like, it's cool. I'm doing this. That's fine. I'm driving. I don't need you. And I quite like that sense of, this is unhelpful. You can go. And I know what you're saying about sometimes it's there to keep us safe, but sometimes it is unhelpful. You know, most of the time it is.
Yeah, it is. And I think when we can recognize that and when we can do that, that's fine. I think where it starts to become more of a thing that perhaps we need to pay attention to is when it keeps coming up and it keeps coming up, and it's holding us back in some way for pursuing something that is really important to us, or that we feel on a conscious level is really important, but there's something stopping us. And it's in situations like that, then if you actually give yourself time to think and pause, I mean, this might be quite a useful thing to practice, is that, you know, if there is something that's holding you back, just have a think for a moment. What is it? What is it? And where is that feeling associated with whatever it is that's holding you back? And maybe you're having a thought in relation to, say there's a job you want to go for, or a big interview, or there's an audition that you are going for, and it's for a role that you've never done before, and it's maybe at a level that you've never performed at before, but you really want it, you really want to give it a go, you know, like it'd be an amazing opportunity, and you're saying, yes, I want to do it, but then there's this doubt, there's this feeling, and it's kind of tapping into what those thoughts are, tapping into where that feeling is, and actually working with it. So by giving it some attention, with going in and going, right, what's going on? What are you worried about? What are you really worried about? What's the worst that can happen? What if you do it and you fail? What if you do it and you don't fail? What are you going to learn? You know, how's it going to feel then the next time you go and do it? And really trying to talk to it in a way that gives it attention. I'm not saying makes it blow up into more than what it is, but gives it attention, but then you can kind of almost like rationalize with it a little bit, reassure yourself that actually, okay, what do you need to do to feel better about this situation, about going for that audition? Well, yeah, this is what I feel I really need to do, but I want to rehearse this many times the script, bit of the script. I want to work with my mate because they're really good at supporting me and will help me touch upon an areas and pick out any areas, and they'll be able to coach me through that. I'm going to record myself, you know, come up with a strategy that's going to help me prepare then to be in a better place, to help this feeling go from being something massive that's holding you back and you're not really giving it attention, to something that might shrink, it might get smaller. And when I'm talking about tapping into the feeling, it's getting really into, where is that feeling? How big is that feeling? How much of my body does it fill up? Is it heavy? Does it have a color? Is it moving? All of those things that really help you to connect with it, but then allow you to, I guess, see if you can tone down the volume on it, tone down the size of it, and then working in and tapping into the part of you that really wants to go for it, that's really excited about it, and doing all the same things again, you know, How is that feeling? Where is that feeling? Does that have a color? Does that move in any way? Is there a way that that can expand and fill up more of yourself? So it's just a different strategy to take on it. So rather than ignoring something that is worrying you, it's actually giving it some time and some space, and then seeing what happens, seeing if that makes a difference.
Yeah, I love that, actually, giving it attention to see whether you can actually turn it round into something that works with you rather than against you. I really love that level of kind of maybe just nourish it a bit, just enough to work out what it is. And I think that's that whole point of tuning into what is it that's holding you back, or what is it that's making you say that to yourself, or what is it that you feel like you can't break in that kind of cycle of negative chatter or negative thought, or whatever that might be. Because we build such strong patterns, don't we? We build such strong patterns to things, behaviors to things. And actually what I'm hearing is perhaps some of us, and I know I'm definitely included in this, we perhaps don't work kind of hard enough to break some of those patterns in order for it to not be a thing for us anymore. Sometimes we go around accepting that, oh, well, I just say these kind of things, or I look in the mirror and I always look a bit rubbish, so we'll just kind of crack on with the day anyway. And actually that's no way to kind of be and live. And that's something that I'm constantly working on. And just giving it that attention. When's the last time we did stand in the mirror and go, okay, what is really great about myself? What do I love about myself, and what do other people think are my best qualities?
It's practicing it, absolutely. And we've not been taught to do that. We're taught to do many things like ride a bike, write, and we're taught to look after our bodies. We're taught how to brush our teeth. We're not taught how to exercise our mental health in a positive way that builds our self-esteem, that supports our confidence. And I think doing beautiful things like that, when you're brushing your teeth, you can be practicing, if affirmations work for you, you can practice your affirmations. You can be looking at yourself in the mirror going, yeah, looking pretty good today, 42.
Definitely.
Smile. Just it's stuff that we, I think, as Brits are, that stiff upper lip, that really kind of reserved background, don't like to embrace. And actually, when you look at our counterparts in the States, they're loving it, they're doing it, and they're feeling great as a result, right? Because it releases all of those feel good hormones when we're getting ourselves into that space. And great things happen when you're in that space.
Don't they just?
You get to be a gift to the world, and we all are a gift to the world, and we can really release that when we're in that space.
Amazing. Just a couple of other little things before we have to close, which I mean, this is all just wonderful stuff, and I'm absolutely loving this. But I just wonder if you want to just talk a little bit about, I know that you were at a confidence conference on Saturday, and I just wonder if there was any things that little things that came up that you thought, that's really thought-provoking, I'm going to give that a little bit of time and space to think about anything that came up. And then maybe we'll just finish with thinking about specifically women, because that's how we started, and kind of that care that we can take through that kind of pinnacle transition that happens throughout our life and that feels really huge, and maybe just some support for that. But tell us about the confidence course.
So it's fascinating, actually. One of the key things that I took away from it, certainly at the opening of the course that I was doing, the conference, was that sometimes people can come to coaching and they're talking about confidence and having confidence issues, but actually they can be self-esteem issues. Not that you're not confident to go and do things, but actually you don't feel good about yourself in relation to whatever it is that you want to do or feel that you need to be doing. I like to use the word want as opposed to need, because no one really needs to do any of these things, or no one really should have to do any of these things. It's what you want to do, right? And and that there are amazing number of different tools that you can use to coach on confidence. And it's easy to improve your confidence, just making small changes to like your body posture. I think we've chatted before about Amy Cuddy.
Yes.
And she's got an amazing TED
Power
talk.
pose.
She talks about the power pose.
Love
but then
it.
she goes into it, and on a deeper level, that the very physiological changes that happen, the chemical changes that happen within your body, actually do make you feel more confident. You get a little tiny boost of testosterone. You're feeling more open. You're making that positive first impression. And first impressions, we all take first impressions. Whether or not we like to think it or not, we judge people by what we see. So all of that, that was really amazing. But also that we can, when we're thinking about areas of our lives where we want more confidence, thinking about what confidence means to ourselves, rather than, I think we all think we know what confidence means, but it's different for each person. And it shows up in different ways. And it can be very much confused. We can confuse confidence with arrogance, and they're very different. To be confident about something and arrogant about something, just different. This feels good. This doesn't feel good. This feels like you're trying to get one up on somebody or be better than somebody. And that's not what it's about. So those are the main takeaways really for me. That we can work on confidence, and we can even work on our self-esteem as well. Little things like, how easily do you take compliments from somebody and really embrace those compliments? That's a self-esteem thing. Do you push them away? Why are you pushing them away? Is it because you don't agree with them?
Yeah.
So a lovely thing to do is to notice throughout the day when you get compliments, whether it's about how you look, what you're wearing, the work that you're doing, and what's your gut reaction, because that's telling you something. What's stopping you from embracing those compliments and allowing yourself to feel good?
Yeah,
because we all deserve to feel good. That's what we're here to do. We're here to feel good. Yeah. So that's what I really loved from it, and I'm really excited to be able to bring some tools and skills to my clients that I'm working with, to help support them with their confidence and also help them build their self-esteem as well. Yeah.
Gosh, I love that. Just the difference between confidence and self-esteem. We all know probably friends of ours who, don't think as much of them as we do, of themselves as we do. And they are seemingly really confident, but actually inside they don't fully believe it, which I always notice that, and it's just such a shame, because I want people, and especially because obviously I teach young people as well in terms of their singing, and sometimes I can't believe how amazing they are, and they don't realize that yet, it's something that, like you say, it's how are you receiving things, what does that tell you? And just as we kind of finish, it'd be lovely to kind of close with maybe just some support, especially for the female listeners, in terms of those changes and the transitions that happen in our life, and any little kind of tips or things that you would say or advise, or just anything. I mean, there's so much in the chat that we've had that will be just such lovely take homes for people, but because I know that that's something that you've talked really openly about, and especially obviously for someone of my age, the perimenopause, menopause work that you're doing is just incredible, because there is a real lack of understanding and awareness of that, and how many different things people can feel going through that. So just whatever you feel might be helpful.
So I think the biggest thing that I've done for myself, and this was pre-recognizing sort of my symptoms for the perimenopause, but really allowed me to see it unfolding, was running a journal, just writing a journal, or a diary, whatever you want to call it, whatever works for you. And I started off writing it just very basic stuff in there, like, you know, what I'd eaten for the day. There's even some stuff about what I needed to do that day, just some tasks. But I'd write, you know, daft stuff in there, like you know, the dates, but I'd write my cycle number. I'd write any, you know, which day of my cycle I was on, any symptoms, you know, how was I feeling physically? How was I feeling with my mood? How was I feeling with, well, I can't, yeah, what, if there was anything else coming up, for instance, what exercise had I done? Had I done any yoga? Because yoga, I know, really supports me. Had I meditated? And I just keep a track of those things. And then over the years, because it took me a while to get into that, I was a bit resistant to start off with. I was like, oh, when will I find time? I don't really want to do this. It's boring. But actually, it's the number one thing I do practically every day now is I write. And it's changed. So now I still write my cycle number. I still write the day. I still, I don't record what I eat anymore. I'm not so interested in that. But I do record my gratitude, things that I have, things that I've been successful at during the day, things that I'm loving in my life, things that I'm looking forward to, things that I'm grateful for, the beautiful moments that I've had during my day. Those are things that I write in there now. And I also, one of the things that I've started to do sort of over the last 6 months is I write down what I want to experience in my day. Setting my intention for the day. How is my day going to feel? How am I going to feel? How do I want to be interacting with my girls? And usually I come up with, you know, I want to have a deep and loving connection with my girls in the morning. We'll have a beautiful breakfast, we'll have lovely chat, and we'll get ready for school without any dramas or whatever it might be. I might write down just how I want it to flow. And it only takes a couple of minutes to do that. And it only takes a few minutes at the end of the day to write all the things that I've really enjoyed during the day and all the things that I'm looking forward to in my future. So keeping me forward focused, keeping me focused on the things that make me feel good. And when I'm writing them down, and when you write them down, really tapping into those feelings that you felt in the day of how good it was. And it's like you're getting a double dose of that really amazing feel good factor. So it's brilliant. Yeah, that's been the number one thing that I've done. That has got many things in it. So it's increased my awareness about my physical and mental health, increased my awareness as to what was happening with my cycles and any symptoms that I was experiencing, because I'd write those things down as well. And it's really helped with my mindset, because it keeps me focused on all the good stuff that I want to see in my life. And all the good stuff that I want to see happening more, and all the amazing stuff that is going to happen in my future, because I'm now more focused on that, and that's going to allow me to put the energy into it to make those things happen. I think as well, my other big tip would be, don't feel you have to put positivity plaster on everything. If you're having a bad day, it's okay to have a bad day, right? Just be okay with it. And if you're getting to the point where you feel you're having so many bad days, as it did for me earlier this year, and I was like, oh my God, is this me getting depressed again? It's either that or, oh, hang on a minute. I came across this amazing questionnaire by Dr. Laura Newson that has all of these symptoms about the perimenopause. Oh my gosh, tick, 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 tick. What if it's the perimenopause that's making me feel this way? And roll on HRT. It's had a massive impact. So building your awareness, number one. However you can do that, in whatever way you do that. Some way of recording what's going on, so you can go back and you can look at trends and you can see what's happening for you. Some way of focusing and training your mind to look for all of the beautiful, amazing things in your life and relive those every day. And asking for help if you need it, and talking to other people, because I found that even by me just going on my Facebook profile and talking about the perimenopause, so many people have come back to me and gone, oh my gosh, thank you for this. It's really helped me. I'm now on HRT, or I've been feeling like that for a while. And it just helps raise other people's awareness. And when we all do that, we can support each other in feeling the very best of ourselves that we want to be. And then the meditation. Do you know what? I could go on. I'm going to stop there, because it's about finding what feels good for you.
You feel good for us, Catherine Moon. That has been honestly you are like honestly the embodiment of what I wanted this channel to be, because I wanted it to be full of really wholesome conversations that nourish people's souls, that people can just listen to. And if they are doing some of these things, think, okay, I feel like I'm part of something. I feel like maybe I'm on the right track, I'm onto something, and because I'm feeling good, I'm going to keep doing it. And then for those people who maybe aren't doing some of those things, who are feeling like they need a bit of extra, then hopefully there's some stuff there that they can take away. And for me, like you say, doing a little film on a video on Facebook just reaches out to people, and they go, oh, and it's just making people feel less alone. We are all navigating something that we've never done before, and at each stage of our life there's something new. So I just thank you so much. It's been an amazing conversation.
You're welcome. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh,
thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being part of this Wellbeing with Manny community. It really means a lot to me that you can spare some of your precious time to listen to these conversations. Please share this episode with anyone you think would benefit from hearing these open and real conversations. And remember, talking is key. Who will you have a conversation with?